Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the CoreCast. I'm your host, Chris Harris. I'm a certified personal trainer and Pilates instructor who's been working with clients of all fitness levels for the past 17 years to help them reach their fitness potential and achieve their health and wellness goals. In today's episode, Unlocking Your Body's Potential, we're going to discuss the importance of flexibility and mobility. We're going to look at these elements and how they contribute to a healthy and active lifestyle. Flexibility and mobility are often overlooked, but are really essential for improving athletic performance, reducing the risk of injury, and enhancing the overall quality of life. We're going to take a look at what flexibility is and why it's important, and then talk about the importance of mobility as well. Then we'll discuss the differences between mobility and flexibility, and look at the benefits of flexibility and mobility to discuss a few ways that you can assess your levels of both. We're going to go ahead and look at some common misconceptions about flexibility and mobility and explore some effective techniques for improving our flexibility. Stretching, foam rolling, yoga, and Pilates are just a few examples. We're going to dig deeper in how we can incorporate flexibility and mobility exercises into our daily routines and talk about how a lack of flexibility and mobility can lead to injury and maybe how things can be done to prevent it. Changes in flexibility and mobility happen as we age, and we're going to talk about how to maintain that flexibility and mobility as we get older. So let's begin with talking about flexibility. Flexibility is defined as the ability of soft tissues, muscles, ligaments, and tendons to passively stretch. Flexibility and stretching involve that lengthening of your muscles. It's the ability of the muscle to stretch temporarily when needed. Simply put, it's the ability of the muscle to stretch. What is mobility? Mobility is the joint where two bones meet, its ability to move through its full range of motion. So mobility training will optimize movement and performance by increasing the range of motion within your joints and surrounding muscles. So simply put, it's the ability of a joint to move. According to Harvard Health, loss of mobility affects 1/3 to 1/2 of those aged 65 and older. Statistics from CDC indicate that close to 14% of all American adults have some kind of a mobility issue that impacts their ability to safely walk and climb stairs. Both mobility and flexibility are important components of healthy movement. It's imperative to have good muscle flexibility in order to have good joint mobility. Good mobility requires that flexibility in the muscles and other soft tissues surrounding the joints, examples of which include the shoulder joint. It's shaped like a ball and socket, and it's designed so that you can move your arm forward, backward, side to side, and in circles. If the joint moves like it should, it has healthy mobility. But if it can't, it means you have that lack of mobility, and that can increase your risk of injury. Mobility also requires strength and stability, so it's possible for an individual to be flexible but lack mobility. So why are flexibility and mobility important? Flexible muscles and joints are able to move through the proper range of motion. If a muscle lacks flexibility, an individual's mobility will also be impacted. This can alter movement and posture, impact performance, and increase the risk of injury. Both flexibility and mobility play a key role in quality of life. Healthy movements include a combination of joints that aren't supposed to move, which are immovable joints that have limited movement, and then other joints that allow for much broader range of motion. Functional movements typically require a blend of different joints working together to stabilize, support, and move the body. Having the strength and stabilization to support the appropriate joints while another joint is moving and keeping those joints in a safe and optimal position is very important. What are some factors that can influence flexibility? Genetics. Genes play a large role in an individual's natural flexibility. Age. Flexibility typically declines with age. Injury. Pain, scar tissue can limit the range of motion. And hormones. Pregnancy hormones can increase the elasticity of connective tissue in the body, especially in the hips. And gender. Females tend to be more flexible than males. What are some of the influencing factors for mobility? Joint structure is one of them. Different types of joints allow for different movements, like we talked about earlier with the shoulder joint. Age. Joint mobility will typically decline as we age. Soft tissue flexibility. Proper elasticity in the muscles, tendons, and ligaments are essential for full range of motion. Your overall health. Certain health conditions can impact an individual's mobility. Fat to muscle mass. Excess fat or excess muscle can impact movement. There's many benefits of flexibility training. Increasing flexibility can reduce the risk of injury. Engaging in regular flexibility training can reduce that risk of muscle imbalances. It's also important for reducing inflammation. Flexibility training can reduce inflammation. Poor posture and repetitive movements that decrease the body's range of motion are treated by the body as an injury, and as a result, the body will try to heal that injury. Injury will induce inflammation in the body as a protective mechanism, and the body will increase muscle tension to prevent further injury. The increase in muscle tension increases muscle adhesions, commonly known as knots, which will further decrease the normal movement or elasticity of your muscle. Improving strength flexibility can help improve that strength and performance in physical activity. So the goal of flexibility is to have control of your muscles in a full range of motion. Having freedom of movement. So flexibility will allow for that freedom of movement to perform your everyday movements, such as lifting groceries, bending over to tie your shoe, or vacuuming the floor. It's important to regularly engage in a stretching routine because, as we discussed earlier, movement can become more difficult as we age. Relaxation and relief are another important component. Stretching provides that relaxation and relief that can be beneficial for physical and mental health. Mobility training benefits will include a calming effect that will help with stress relief. Mobility exercises also improve your range of motion and will prevent the stiffness that comes with strength training. It can also provide a low-intensity way to give your body a break and help it heal from high-intensity training. It adds variety and change to your regular workout routine and can keep you motivated. Mobility, like we've discussed so many times, training will also help you keep your age at bay. Mobility exercises can be a warm-up for your regular workout routine. And it's also a good way to improve performance in other physical activities, such as sports. How can you assess your mobility? There's a standing toe touch. This test will assess movement in your hips, your core control, and flexibility of your posterior chain, which includes your calves, hamstrings, and lower back. What you want to do is stand tall with your feet completely together. Keep your legs straight and then bend over and attempt to touch your toes. That measures a flexibility hamstring for the hamstring flexibility measure. And then shoulder mobility test is a test to assess your shoulder's range of motion and how well your shoulders move around the rest of your body. You want to stand tall with your feet completely together and hands at your sides. Loosely wrap your thumbs inside your fingers, and in one smooth motion, taking one hand behind your neck and the other hand behind your back, get your hands as close together as you possibly can behind your back. If you can get your hands about 1.5 lengths apart, then you pass. Supine straight leg raise, hip mobility test is what we are looking for in this one. Lying on your back with your arms at your sides, lift one leg towards the ceiling while keeping both legs straight and the opposite leg on the floor. To pass this test, the ability to lift past the opposite kneecap is important without the opposite leg coming up. Prone hip extension is another test. This is the ability to extend at your hip. So you're lying on your stomach, squeeze your glutes, lift one leg off the floor without rotating or arching your back. A passing test would be the ability to achieve about 10 degrees for most people, or at least the length of your foot. So those are just a few tests that you could try to kind of test where you're at. Some common misconceptions about mobility and flexibility. Myth number 1, holding your stretches for a longer time will make you more flexible. Holding stretches for a longer period can actually inhibit the muscle's ability to contract efficiently. Holding static stretches should not be done for more than 30 to 45 seconds. It's been found that increasing this time to 60 seconds or increasing the frequency of the stretches has no significant improvement on range of motion. This is when testing hamstring flexibility. Myth number 2, you must stretch every day to get more flexible. Increasing the frequency of stretching for example 1 to 3 times a day, doesn't do much to improve your range of motion. Allowing those muscles time to recover and rebuild the muscle fibers will help muscles become stronger. Myth number 3, if you are not flexible, there's no hope. You can actually really experience benefits starting at any level of flexibility. Studies have shown that flexibility training can improve blood circulation, release muscle tightness, and help your muscles work more effectively. So what are some effective techniques for improving mobility and flexibility? One is self-myofascial release. This form of stretching involves using items such as a foam roller, lacrosse balls, and similar objects to release trigger points or knots within the muscles. Again, we covered this in our fascia episode. This technique allows the muscle fibers to return to a straighter alignment, as well as releasing pressure. When you find that area that's tight, hold pressure on it for a minimum of 30 seconds. This technique can be used before stretching to help release adhesions in the fascia. Again, from episode 5. Static stretching is one of the most well-known forms of stretching, and it involves lengthening a muscle to its furthest point and holding that position for a minimum of 30 seconds. This type of stretching can help lengthen overactive tight muscles, but evidence shows that this type of stretching increases flexibility over time only if performed daily. There's active stretching. This is a form of stretching in which you use the strength of a certain muscle group to lengthen or stretch an opposing muscle group. Yoga is a great example in which certain poses require activation of a contraction of certain muscle groups as a way to stretch the opposing muscle. It can help to increase range of motion and is a great warm-up activity before high-intensity exercise or sports activity. There's dynamic stretching, which is more movement-based stretching. It requires working muscles through a range of motion to increase flexibility and mobility. Unlike static and active stretching, these poses are not held. It's also a great form of stretching to warm up the muscle groups before initiating high-intensity exercises or sports activity. The role of Pilates in improving flexibility and mobility. Pilates is a form of exercise that can improve flexibility and mobility. The exercises focus on developing core strength, which can improve posture and alignment, leading to increased range of motion and greater flexibility. Pilates also emphasizes controlled movements and proper alignment, which can help prevent injuries and improve mobility. Regular practice of Pilates can lead to greater flexibility and mobility, making everyday movements easier and more comfortable. And additionally, Pilates can help reduce stiffness and joint pain, making it a great exercise option for people with arthritis or other joint-related conditions. So starting a stretching routine, how to incorporate it into your everyday life. It's important to start slow, especially if you're new to stretching. Flexibility exercise through a stretching routine can be started at any age, and improvements can be seen as early as 3 weeks if performing a stretching routine regularly. When starting a stretching routine, it's important to keep these things in mind. When stretching, major muscle groups around the shoulders, neck, lower back, hips, legs, and ankles should be targeted. You should engage in a stretching routine at a minimum of 2 to 3 times per week. When beginning, hold static stretches for 10 to 30 seconds with a goal of holding for a minimum of 60 seconds. Repeating stretches 2 to 4 times to get optimal benefits. When starting, warm up your muscles with foam rolling or perform 5 to 6 static stretches, holding each one for at least 10 seconds and gradually building up to 60 seconds. And start by allocating 5 minutes of stretching to warm up or cool down after your regular exercise routine. Also, on days that you don't exercise, spend about 5 to 10 minutes stretching when you have free time to loosen up tension in your body. Stretching can be done at any time of the day, but muscles tend to be tighter when we first wake up. It's important to warm up with some dynamic movements or a light jog before doing static stretching first thing in the morning. And stretching at night and before bed can help improve sleep. Studies have shown that a light stretching routine in the late evening or right before sleep helped improve sleep quality in people with mild sleep disorders. Can you overdo stretching? Stretches involve lengthening a muscle to its furthest point. A muscle can sometimes be stretched beyond this point, and without proper preparation can lead to overstretching. To prevent overstretching from occurring, make sure that you warm up properly either through dynamic motions, light activity, or foam rolling before engaging in any type of intense stretching. Forcing muscles that are too tight into a lengthened position too quickly can cause micro tears in your muscles, and this can lead to inflammation and injury and can limit your mobility for a period. So to recap, flexibility and mobility are both important elements in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. They are key to preventing injury, improving athletic performance, and enhancing the overall quality of life. It is important to incorporate exercises that improve your range of motion, joint mobility, and muscle flexibility into your daily routine. By doing so, you can prevent injuries, improve your posture, and enhance your overall performance in all aspects of your life. Remember, it's never too late to start working on your mobility and flexibility. Start incorporating some of these simple exercises into your daily routine today. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the CoreCast. Remember to download the latest episode on the platform of your choice. Check out our website, www.core-fit.com, and that's core with a K, for great information about Pilates, fitness, exercise, and more. Or subscribe to the CoreCast channel on YouTube or Core Fitness Arizona channel on YouTube as well for dozens of exercise videos and great fitness resources. Follow us on Instagram at core_fitness_AZ. Thanks for joining. See you next time.